Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Tommo, and welcome to my pre-race Chinwag for the 2024 Italian Grand Prix Grazie Ragazzi, straight from Monza. Welcome, William, Lex, and T, Mella, Doc, Mayu, Dan, MGT, T, Elusive. Thank you, everyone who is watching this after the fact, and of course, audio only, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's the correct graphic for that one. Bosh, lovely jubbly. All right, if you don't want to look at my face, you don't have to. Monza, round 15. Bosh, lovely jubbly. How are you all feeling about this weekend? Okay, we've just had Zandvoort. We've had a dominant display from Lando Norris, winning by 22 seconds. A Verstappen-esque level of performance. Will he bring the same fire this weekend? That remains to be seen, doesn't it? My tones are chirpy this morning. Good to hear, Kev. I'm actually a little bit sick. I've got a little bit of a tingle at the back of my throat. You know, you wake up in the morning and you've got that it's like someone's done sandpaper in the back of your throat. Not nice. Not particularly pleasant, but we move on. Okay, there's F1. Well, there was last weekend. There is this weekend, and we're here for it. And I'm a very happy boy. Round 15, Monza. Straight line merchants will succeed. People who struggle in a straight line will not. So it remains to be seen whether this McLaren performance, that it does feel like they have the most complete car right now and the most versatile car. But of course, Monza is an extremity circuit. It's not one that challenges your car in every single facet. Like a Silverstone, for example, is a good challenge. You've got a good high, medium and low speed corners at Silverstone. Plenty of straight lines as well. Whereas Monza challenges your car in very specific ways. So perhaps we should expect to see certain cars thriving that haven't done as of late, and others not so much. And that may reflect in my predictions, shouldn't it? Bobby, first time catching me live from New Zealand. Love to see it. Why aren't you in bed? Because it must be well late over there in New Zealand. But up the Kiwis, Wellington, home from home. Love it. Anyway, right. Bosh, what happened last time out? A lot happened last time out. Namely, it is mad. It was only 12 months ago that De Vries jumped into the Williams, replacing Alex because of his appendicitis, and brought home points in the Williams in Monza. There's no way that's 12 months ago. Oh my God, it was 2 years ago. Hang on. Should we start again? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so last time out, that didn't happen. That was 2 years ago. Literally, I did the graphics last night, and I was like, that's mad. I can't believe that was only a year ago. I can't believe that was only 12 months ago. Oh, dearie me. That's a Lomo moment, if we've ever seen one. Hang on, let me just Well, plenty did happen 12 months ago. It was a very exciting race, wasn't it? We had the Ferraris battling for the podium. We had Max dropping the 10 wins in a row. We didn't have Nick De Vries replace Alex Albon for his appendix because that was 24 months ago, wasn't it? And we all know that. And it's clearly just, I'm clearly just bantering you. Let me just fix this graphic and then we'll move on. Okay, just talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Honestly, sometimes I'm just like, what am I doing? What am I actually doing with my? I can't even do this right. Right, hang on. You drag the image there. You put that there. You do that. You save this. Right, Bosh. Again, if you're audio only, you got no idea what's going on. I could have got away with it. If I wasn't live on YouTube for the world to see. There we go. What happened last time around? Well, Max. Drop one of them. 10 in a row. Oh, Jamie, that's the worst time to give me a super chat because I do not I do not deserve it. But thank you, Jamie. Good day, Tom. I've got to watch after the fact today, but I just want to say thanks for all you do for us. It's been a pleasure watching you last 5 years. Hopefully see you at Albert Park sometime. Thank you, Jamie. 5 years and I'm still making clangers like that. There you go. There you go, Jamie. Well, look, Albert Park, hopefully one day. I'd love to make it there. It will happen. It will happen at some point. Anyway, last time out, Max won 10 in a row. Carlos got the podium over Charles, didn't he, as well? That was a saucy little battle between the Ferraris. And Carlos definitely did overstep the mark, but kept the podium and, you know, took it graciously. Took it graciously. Oh, clanger indeed. Clanger as per. Clanger as per. Right, let's have a look at the driver standings, shall we? Now, do we have a championship fight on? It wasn't so much, 70 points with 9 to go is a lot. But you got to say, the way in which Lando won by 22 seconds did make an impression, right? Now, of course, Max was struggling in his Red Bull. He only finished 2 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. I think that's important context to add. But it takes one Max DNF for Lando to capitalise on points. And all of a sudden that gap shrinks from 70 to mid-40s. And then it's like, it's close enough that there's going to be that extra little bit of pressure. Max and Red Bull do add this buffer here. And I still think they're going to win the championship. I do. I still think they'll get over the line. I still think Max will be consistently up there, because even if this car isn't doing what it used to do, or isn't as, with these upgrades that they've brought to the car, and it's struggling, and Checo and Max were both running kind of Frankenstein cars last weekend, I still think Max will have enough to get the job done over the course of 9 races, consistently enough to be ahead, probably probably get it done with a race to spare as well, most likely. Component allocation could be a problem, Anthony, but again, I suppose that is something for everyone, isn't it? Something for everyone to consider. There is a small, minute hope for a championship fight here, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a lot of people have used 2009 as a point of comparison, where obviously Vettel was closing down on Button towards the end of the year, but didn't have enough time to actually to get it done. So yes, we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. Obviously, Ferrari bringing up grades this weekend to Monza. Always expectation around Ferrari at Monza. Always typically run disproportionately well in Monza relative to how they do on the rest of the calendar. And so the hopes there that Ferrari really establish themselves as is up there in that 4-team fight. Obviously, Mercedes had an off day last weekend. Is that just a one-off? They went back-to-back races and then they're kind of well off in Zandvoort. So, will Monza play to the strengths? Again, I think this is going to be a difficult one to call. Difficult one to call, for sure. And then, Ollie Behrman's still got 6 people behind him. And we're going to be adding Franco Colapinto to this list. This is the last pre-race Chinwag graphic of the season with only 21 drivers on it, because there will be Franco Colapinto making it 22. So I'm going to have to find where to put the after 15 of 24 race weekends. But yes, that's how the driver standings look. Team standings, 30 points between Red Bull and McLaren. 30. So, that's absolutely surmountable, of course, especially given the fact that Max seems to be struggling with this Red Bull more than ever. Will those problems with the Red Bull be highlighted at a track like Monza? Not to the extent they were at Zandvoort, in my opinion. Not to the extent. I definitely think Max has got a much better shot of winning this race. Even though he had it's 22 seconds off in Zandvoort, I think he'll be a lot closer to the win this weekend, in my opinion. But that will probably age like my De Vries graphic. I can't believe Ferrari is still only 34 behind McLaren. That's actually a bit crazy, isn't it? And the Mercedes 94 behind Ferrari. Williams 4 points. Look, again, I said it in my piece about Franco Colapinto. Whoever they bring in, are they realistically going to be able to catch Alpine? Now, of course, one absolute, freak result. That's what this point system rewards more than consistency, especially for those bottom teams. So a freak result for a Williams could result in a lot of points. Do I expect Franco to be in the points? Look, Williams are not Monza specialists, not straight line specialists as much as they used to be. I'm sure that's still, part of their roadhouse. But I'm not so sure anymore. It feels like they're more consistent across the board, but don't have the peaks that they used to around the track, like Monza. And by the way, for everyone saying this is Kick Sauber merch, this is actually Mercedes merch. So that's some irony for you. But yeah, otherwise, in the team standings, obviously there's only 7 points between Racing Bulls and Haas, so that's probably going to go down to the wire. Although Magnussen doesn't look like scoring points, whereas it feels like Ricciardo and Tsunoda both have it in their locker to score points if things, fall correctly. But Racing Bulls have brought so many upgrades this year. I think they've brought more upgrades than any team, yet their performance just doesn't seem to have developed much, Remains to be seen. And then Sauber still on nil points. Nil points. Right. Okay, let's get into predictions. Bosch, lovely jubbly. Italian Grand Prix. Should we alternate again? I can make these graphics alternate. Starting with race winner. Who do I think is going to secure the dub? Well, it was a hell of a performance from Lando. It was a great quality lap as well from him. Zandvoort and Monza are very, very different tracks. And there's a lot of high expectation around this Ferrari upgrade. See where they'll end up. But for me, I'm going Lando. It was so good in Zandvoort. Yes, of course, the start was a stinker. And there's a sizable run down to turn 1 at Monza. So do I expect Lando to be leading outside of that new first kind of chicane? They've reprofiled it ever so slightly. Doesn't fundamentally change the corner massively. It just adds a bit more runoff, I think. But yeah, I don't expect Lando to be leading out of that turn, that first chicane. But I do expect him to have the pace in this McLaren to win the race. So I'm going Lando Norris. But what about you? Well, 971 of you voted. And your race winner is Lando Norris. 38% of you voted Lando, 24% Charles Leclerc. So a pretty good spread. A quarter of you Leclerc. I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. Once again, I'd love to see Charles Leclerc win this race. 12% Max Verstappen, 12% Oscar Piastri. And again, I do think, it will be interesting to see because Oscar, had a bit of a stinker in Zandvoort, got caught up behind traffic, didn't have the clean air, fell way back behind Lando. He was like 25 seconds behind Lando by the race end. When your teammate's winning by 22 and you're not on the podium, that's never a good look. I'm sure that is an isolated incident that's more down to the dirty air he was running in than a distinct fundamental lack of pace. But also, the damage was done in qualifying. And to be fair, I do looking at Zandvoort. So many drivers. Listen to all the post-race, post-quali chats from the drivers. So many drivers were just like, it was a lottery in turn 9, 10. You go in, you don't know what the win's going to be. You get lucky or you don't. And some drivers did, some drivers didn't. I mean, Stroll was flying in Q1, Q2. And then in Q3, he was a good chunk of time behind Fernando. It can go either way, you know what I mean? So, we'll see. But yeah, Antonelli announced this weekend, yes or no? It's a good question. He will be doing FP1 for Mercedes. And I don't really know what Mercedes are waiting for. But then maybe they're like, oh, we don't want to put too much pressure on him. That remains to be seen. So yeah, 38% of you go for Lando Norris race win. Banger drive, for me, Alex Albon. Oh, again, by the way. I went for banger drive Alex last weekend. because I genuinely thought he would bang, and he did in qualifying. And only because his floor failed the inspection by like 0.3 millimeters or something. Like less than a millimeter. I think it was, wasn't it? I'm sure it was less than a millimeter. Either way, if Alex had actually started where he qualified, I think the fact that Pierre got P9, I think Alex would have got points. I do. And so I'm going to back him again. Because, the upgrades have come in at Williams. Yes, I said earlier on, they're not straight line specialists anymore like they used to be. But that doesn't mean they're not good at straight line tracks. They still are. So I'm backing him. I'm backing the boy to be like, Franco, this is my swamp. As I always say. That's my favourite Shrek line. This is my swamp. Thank you, Jibril, by the way, for the super chat. Best case scenario, how many years does it take Williams to be a regular top 3 team again? If they were, would Alex deserve a drive in such a seat? Well, I think if they were to become a top 3 team anytime soon, I think Alex would deserve the right to drive that car, because he would have played a fundamental part in getting that car to that point, surely. Because he's been at this team for a while now, and it's 2026 the absolute earliest that they could, but even then I think it's more like 2028 realistically, because the facility offset that they have. But if they can get to that place, Alex would absolutely deserve the right to drive that car and deliver the performance he would have helped unlock, But yeah, it's going to take a while for Williams. I think 26 is too soon. Shrek never says this is my swamp. Well, he basically says it, doesn't it? Get out of my swamp. Whatever the actual line is. It's good enough. Good enough for me, okay? So my banger drive is Alex Albon. Your banger drive is Charles Leclerc. 25% of the vote. Franco Colapinto, 16% of the vote. I almost forgot to swap Sargent out for Colapinto in the poll. I realised after about 2 minutes when a bunch of you commented being like, why is Sargent still there? Another Lomo moment, but there you go. 11% Albon, 10% Sainz. Again, Sainz ran well last year. Held off Charles. Elbows out for sure. But yeah, we move. Okay, so both same race winner, but you've gone banger drive Charles. I've gone banger drive Alex. What about clanger drive? Well, for me, I've gone with Esteban Ocon. I think it's only going to get worse from here on in with him and Alpine. I think that relationship is kind of deteriorating. Esteban is very much airing the laundry out to the world. And I think Alpine are going to be putting all of their eggs in the Pierre Gasly basket, because why wouldn't they? And I think this is going to be a slog. So, yes, I think Esteban Ocon will have the clangiest of drives. Also, Alpine have no power. Not literally, but relatively. They don't have very much power, do they? So I think it's going to be a difficult weekend for both Alpine drivers, but particularly Esteban Ocon. Also, I think that surely Alpine should be giving every single FP1 for the rest of the season to Jack Doohan. Surely. Maybe alternate between Pierre and Esteban to make it kind of fair on Esteban somewhat. But at the same time, it's like, come on, make the tough call that James Vowles probably would have made that call, I would have thought. He'd at least stick Doohan in. Maybe not actually get Esteban out of the seat, but just stick Doohan in for all of his FP1s. Yeah, we'll see. So my clanger is Esteban. Your clanger is Checo. Again, you always go Checo. But only 16% of the vote this time, so a pretty wide spread. Zhou Guanyu got 12% of the vote. Franco Colapinto, 8%. Max Verstappen, 8%. I was considering doing a video this week, but I'm not going to have time. The Colapinto stuff, I kind of wanted to jump on that last night, and yeah, I'm just going to consolidate this week. I'll have done a video Monday, which is my post race, then that live stream yesterday, this live stream today. So 3 bits of content is enough me for the week. All right, you don't need any more than that. But I do want to do, and I mentioned it in my Monday post race for Zandvoort, that I want to do a video on Zhou. There's some really, I've been looking through quotes and Ted Kravitz has been talking quite a lot about Joe in his notebooks and how he's got like all these Frankenstein parts on his car, and they're just kind of, there's multiple times now where he's talked about that. So I want to dive into like the gaps basically between Joe and Bottas throughout their career, throughout Joe's career to date, and see like where he was close to Valtteri, why he's got so far back as well, and trying to, get some added context out why it's gone so wrong for Joe, because it has gone so wrong for Joe. Very wrong. 8% Colapinto, Clanger driver, 8% haters out there. What's wrong with you? Give the guy a chance, come on. And 8% Max Verstappen. We'll see about that. We will see about that. Right. Banger team, for me, Aston Martin, which is a wild one, but hear me out, especially as they're bringing no upgrades. Aston is quick in a straight line. Look at the speed traps. Aston are always up there. So, you know what? The chance of nothing unlikely happening is in itself unlikely. So, if Aston are going to do well anywhere, I think it's going to be Monza. We'll see about that one. That will probably age like a fine milk. You've gone Ferrari, 43% of the vote. The Tifosi belief is there. I don't want to jinx it, because I really want a Ferrari on the top step of the podium. I don't want to jinx it, but 43% of you are prepared to jinx it by going Ferrari. 23% McLaren, 14% Williams, 6% Mercedes. Be very interested to see if Mercedes bounce back. Seemed like a bit of a wild one, didn't it, last weekend? But maybe that was just a one-off for the Mercedes. The arrows that are silver, right? And then finally, Clanger team for me, Alpine. Like I said before, I think power unit deficit. I think Ocon's going to have a tricky one. I'll back Pierre to do a good job, but this isn't their track. Can't remember what year it was, 22 or 23, which is funny considering the De Vries bit earlier. There was a year where Alpine were absolutely nowhere at Monza. They were like, prime terrible Haas when Haas had Schumacher and Mazepin. But at Monza, they were awful. Was it 22, Sava? Yeah, it was like, it was so bad at one point. But yeah, look, I think their chassis is okay. I think it's just they've got a power unit deficit, and that is going to get exponentially hurt because they're going to have to take even more downforce off of the car to be able to keep up in a straight line, which just means they're just going to they might as well just take off the wings. They might as well. So Clanger team for me, Alpine. Clanger team for you, Sauber. Easiest vote of all time. But they've got a Ferrari power unit, so you never know. 14% Red Bull, 13% Aston, 12% Alpine. Bosh. Lovely jubbly. So that's yours. These are mine. So we've gone same with Lando, but we've gone different with everyone else. Who will win? Who will be proven to be right by the end? We need to, maybe next season. What I'll do, I'm always open to suggestions for these streams. I'm going to carry on in the current format for the rest of this year, but I think next season I might add anything I can add and build into it to make it more interactive, more engaging for you lot. That could be fun. Right. So, how would he do? Franco Colapinto this weekend. The reason I jumped to the De Vries thing at Williams is because they have done this before. They have had a new driver in the car. Obviously, the circumstances were completely different because Albon had his appendix out. But they have had a new driver jump into a Williams at Monza and do well. So I'm sure they can lean somewhat on that experience with Franco this time out. And it is a track that it's not the most technically challenging track by any stretch, is it, Monza? It's a bunch of chicanes with straight lines. So also for his neck will appreciate it being Monza as well. And because there could be far worse tracks they could have brought him in for. So this will be a good little litmus test for Franco to see where he stacks up. Just to give him a clean weekend. That's all they will be asking of him. Just keep it clean. Just keep it clean. Get the laps in. That's all they can expect of him. Don't get caught up in any nonsense. Get a full race distance under your belt, and then we can start thinking about adding pace from the next races onwards. So, yeah, look, I think he's positioned to have a solid weekend. I don't think there's going to be too much pressure, too much expectation on him. And we'll see. We will see. Thank you, Gladiator, by the way, for super chat. Completely gutted for Logan. Albon's crash was far more costly, plus worse repercussions. With the revelation that Val spoke to Science in AD23, it really smells. The way it has been handled is awful. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously Alex's crash, the difference with Alex's crash is it was a pretty isolated incident. I mean, Alex has had that crash. He had that Australia crash last year, wasn't it? But either way, Alex does crash. All drivers typically have their fair share of shunts. I wouldn't say Alex is more crash prone than any of the other drivers, established F1 drivers out there. And yes, that was a bad incident. He cocked up massively there, but it's the difference with Logan is that it was a consistent. You look at how many incidents he was having throughout his time at that team. That's where, you know, if you've got the pace and you're having the crashes, some teams will be like, okay, we'll accept it. It's worth it. It's worth to still give you the opportunities, even though you might bin it in the wall. There's enough peak potential there to let it go. And I feel like that belief in Logan, because I do think there were weekends where he was very close to Alex, but he would just never be able to clutch it up when it actually mattered. So, yeah, and I think, look, I don't know, Gladiator. I'm not... The way it was handled was awful. I think I disagree. I don't know, like... The only thing... What I do agree with is that I think Vals has been very, very, like, almost over-indexing on, like, we're going to support Logan, we're going to give him to the end of the year. Like, and I don't think that was really necessary, especially now that they've actually swapped him out. So I agree with that part, but I think I think Val's speaking to Science in Abu Dhabi, like, oh, why wouldn't he? Like, I don't know, like, even to replace Alex potentially, because I'm not being funny. Val, like, there's been a lot of rumours at the start of this year about Alex leaving Williams. So it wasn't even necessarily, we're lining up Science to replace Logan specifically. It's just lining up a option. I think that's pragmatic, my word of the day. In yesterday's live stream, which I did say that a lot more than I thought I did when I watched it back. And so yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. And I think they gave Logan ample opportunity. Swapping him out, yeah, I guess the two things, I think taking his car away from him when Alex crashed, I don't think it was worth it. You know, it's easy to say in hindsight because Alex didn't score points. I don't think that was worth it. But all in all, I think Vals and Williams have given him ample opportunity. So I agree that there are certain parts that have been, you know, a bit muggy. But all in all, I think it was fine, in my opinion. Thank you, Elliot, by the way, as well. Logan Sargent should never have been in F1 to start with. Good riddance. Ouch. Elliot, ouch. Look, I think there was enough. We saw enough from Logan to think, he could do all right. Yes, of course, he didn't set the junior categories alight, but you look at him again relative to Piastri and Pourchaire in F3, and there was a driver there. There was something there. He's a world karting champion. There's something there. There was definitely something there, but he was just not able to realise it in the high-pressure cooker environment of Formula One. Thank you, Zielinski. I'm going to say Zielinski because I can't pronounce your first name. I do apologise. In my opinion, they opted for the easy sponsor money and simply refused to fight Alpine this season. Safe option given he won't crash every race. Well, again, look, Logan wasn't scoring any points anyway. So does Colapinto bring Argentinian bag with him? Probably. I don't. Again, I've not really looked at what sponsors he has. Are there any on his... He's got some sponsors there on his overalls in the picture. YPF, Globe, and I don't know if they're his sponsors or just MP Motorsport sponsors. But either way, nothing to lose really from taking Logan out because he's not scoring points and he's crashing a lot. I know a lot of people, it's not fair. It should be a driver who deserves it more. But like, this is business, this is sport, and Franco is a Williams driver. So of course, Vowles and Williams are going to prioritise their own driver rather than taking on a Liam Lawson who might score a few points, but probably won't change their constructor's position by the end of the year, just to help develop him and make him more ready to be in a rival team next year. You know? That's why I kept using the word pragmatic, because actually a lot of these other options didn't really serve Williams. Not enough, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, who will replace Colapinto in F2? It's a good question, Norton. It's a good question, one that I don't have the answer to. Whether it's another Williams driver like a Luke Browning, maybe. He's been pretty impressive in F3 this year. That could be if Williams want to keep one of their drivers, or use this opportunity to move one of their drivers up the ladder a bit. Perhaps that's the way. Alex Dunn as well, perhaps. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we'll see. Remains to be seen. Old Franco Colapinto. Right. Any other bits and bobs, chat, we want to talk about before we wrap this up? Make sure I haven't missed any super chats, by the way. God, what a fun start to the stream that was, eh? What a fun start to the stream. Massive L immediately, which is you keep me humble, you lot. Okay, keep my feet on the ground. Black Ferrari, yes. Let's have a quick look. Let's have a quick butchers at the Ferrari overalls, shall we? Because damn, Ferrari bringing some flames this weekend. Cannot lie. Let's have a look. Right, so I guess it'll be on the Ferrari Twitter page. Audio only listeners, I do apologise. You'll have to look this up yourself. But yeah, they've got some merch now. Right, so I'm in two minds here. Okay, just turn the audio off on that. Let's go screen share, and then there's me in the corner. It's me in the spotlight, losing my religion. Right, so here's the merch, the tees. Now these are sick. I think these are really nice, made for Monza. Right, I think these are cool. I like them. The big HP on the back is a bit of an ick, but you know, secure that bag, Ferrari. Okay, so this is the merch. Okay, that's pretty cool. I quite like the merch. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. The racing overalls. Not so sure about these. The checkered flag on them. Now, of course, I love a checkered flag. I have the checkered flag in my in the surround around my head right now. I'm not so sure about these. I'm not so sure. I think they've done. If they'd have just gone black, like they did with the t-shirts, that would have been nice. Even if they've got two patterns. They've got like a checkered flag pattern here and then like a carbon fiber pattern here. I think if they'd have just gone this, it would have looked better, in my opinion. Just carried the carbon fiber print throughout the whole thing rather than having both. So, look, I respect the effort from Ferrari, but these overalls are not quite it for me. Yes, it is messy. It is definitely messy. Whereas these merch tees. Lovely jubbly. Yes, more of this, please. More of this. Lovely. I would get it, but I'm not spending all that money on merch. Sorry. Too much. Anything else? Anything else we haven't touched on? Anything else? Ferrari dressed in all black like a funeral, but not for theirs. Well, hopefully you're right, V. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully they have a good weekend, because we need Ferrari back up there for sure. We need to get Ferrari back up there for sure. Who is the greatest driver for you? There isn't a single GOAT, Lucas. I think there's, you know, the names that always come to mind when people ask me who's the greatest of all time. The names that always come to mind: Clark, Prost, Schumacher, and Hamilton. I would say those are the four that always come to mind for me. And to be fair, I think by the time, once we've seen a few more years of him, I think Max will probably be up there as well. Imo. That's what I would say in that little group for me. Who are the three best drivers on the grid right now? Well, form-wise, form is temporary, class is permanent. The thing is, everyone's having like, there's no real super like consistent driver apart from Max. Like Max is, but even when the car's struggling, he's still like dragging performance out of it. So I do absolutely think Max is clear of everyone right now. Haas is legal. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about Haas is legal. If you haven't heard, the race did a video yesterday which kind of summed it up really well. Basically, Haas hadn't paid Uralkali, who were their sponsor, and Dimitri Mazepin's potash firm company, whatever it is, and they basically sent the bailiffs to be like, well, you can't leave Zandvoort, otherwise we're taking the cars to reclaim. So Haas basically, it feels like Gene just dragged his heels for as long as he possibly could, and then all of a sudden there's kind of this quite embarrassing moment where the bailiffs had turned up at Zandvoort to take Haas's stuff, and then it was like, fine, we'll pay it, because they actually got the payment sent, even though they were like, oh, we can't send money from the US to Russia or whatever. But then when the bailiffs turned up, the money gets sent. That's why you use bailiffs, I suppose. But Gene, man, come on, bro, be serious. Just get the cars are in, they're in Monza now, Haas, but they had to stay for the rest of the night. I think they couldn't leave until like Monday. They had to keep all of their stuff on site, otherwise, it would have been a bit naughty. Vidin, what happens if Colapinto performs well relative to Alex? Bit harsh to just relegate him to reserve again, in my opinion. Well, look, I think that Williams, because I've seen a couple of mentions of this, right? People saying that, maybe Colapinto does really well and then they've got a problem. But it's like, well, it's a good problem to have, isn't it? They've got Alex and Sainz signed up. If Colapinto shows potential, then they're not going to drop Alex. They're not going to drop Sainz, obviously. Right? That's done. That is done. But what that does mean is that, okay, that if Colapinto does bits, they can be like, right, we're going to give you, in 2025, you're going to get full-time, like full reserve duties. If there's an opportunity to loan you out, we'll take it. We'll do what we can. But if Colapinto does bits, then they know they've got that asset there, like Alpine had with Piastri, and obviously they let him escape, unfortunately, like Doohan had with Alpine had with Doohan. And then it's just a matter of where an opportunity presents itself, because we're in a position, aren't we, where we've got, Behrman, Doohan, probably Lawson, probably Antonelli, Colapinto for the rest of this year, all stepping up. Pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, sure, that could happen, for sure. It would be a good problem for Williams to have. So I don't think it would be a bad problem for them. Also, I don't think it will happen. Like, realistically, I don't think it will happen. I think Alex is too good to let that happen. Maybe in the long term, but I think it'll be fine. And again, reserve investment into the reserve and sim driver real world experience is fantastic. Exactly, Kev. Exactly. I do think it makes a lot of sense giving this to Colapinto. It does. Right, cool. I think we're done. Thank you all for watching, and for all you got to the end. Would you like to see Minton? Because he's down here. He's down here having a kip. You were a little bit sick yesterday, weren't you, mate? I was out, and I was out during the day, like I said before my stream, and then when I got back, obviously, before I found out about Colapinto. He'd been sick during the day a few times, bless him. But he seems to be okay now. I think you just missed Daddy, didn't you? Yes. I think he did. Look at him. What a lad. What an absolute goat. Right. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all taking the time. Don't forget to like this stream. Subscribe to the Tommo YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed. Maybe double check. You might not be. You might think you are, but you might not be. Rate, comment, 5-star. All that stuff on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the rest. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.